Welcome back, everyone, to the Budget Bitch podcast. I'm your host, Farah Turcott. And today, joining me is Cindy Kumar, a CPA who specializes in helping women entrepreneurs beyond only tax preparation, as she helps with business strategy and also helps you gain clarity and control over your numbers so you can take your business to the next level. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I would love if you could share with myself and the listeners like more about you, your story, why you do what you do, and in particular, like I really resonated with you have on your Instagram CFO for ambitious women entrepreneurs, and I'm all about the CFOs. So just wanted to shout that out too. So yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, please let us know a little bit more about you.
Okay, awesome. My name is Cindy. I am a licensed chartered professional accountant. I help women entrepreneurs go from 300,000 to a million without being on the hamster wheel of trying to get new leads and like new clients all the time because over time you just burn yourself out and it just becomes exhausting. But it's really about having a good foundation and looking more internally before you start just generating sales all the time, because you really need to have a good understanding of being able to maintain that cash flow in your business. Otherwise, you're just going to be getting more sales, but at the same time, you're spending just as much.
Yeah. Wow. Like burning yourself out, that's something I can definitely resonate with. So I like that you are able to kind of look at the entire picture as a whole and not just focus on the tax aspect, which is, I feel like, a big misconception when it comes to working with someone like yourself. Like there's so much more that you're able to help with. So why do you like to work with like women entrepreneurs, and what are your top tips like on a high level for them when they come to you?
I find that it's just so much easier to connect with women. And a lot of times when it comes to finances, like the men in the household deal with it. I know even growing up for myself, my dad like made all the financial decisions and like I used him for guidance. And I see so many young girls now starting their own businesses. They've been using their family accountants, and a lot of them don't really have a connection. Their family accountant doesn't really understand what they're actually doing in their business. A lot of times they're even being told that they need to get a real job and they should stop pursuing their businesses too. So a lot of women are just looking for support and guidance in their business as a whole rather than just filing a number on their tax return.
That's so true. That is so true. And I think that's like something that also makes you working with you stand out so much, is because like you recognize that. And again, it's all about looking at it at a whole picture as opposed to just focusing on one aspect, and the business strategy, which is so cool too, that you also help your clients with. Um, One thing I really found interesting lately is that there are a lot of funny TikToks and reels out there um about like one of them, I don't know if you've ever watched the show like Schitt's Creek. I've never watched it
Yeah,
myself,
I
but
see
I've
that one all the time.
all the time about how it's a write-off, everything's a write-off, and there's often so much content around how, oh, you should buy this or you should buy that, and it's really not going to cause any impact to you because it's all a write-off anyway. But then what can actually be written off? What are some things that you suggest that we look out for when it comes to our business expenses that actually can be written off?
That's a good question, and I get asked this all the time. And I tell my clients to look at it at expenses that are going to help you generate more income. So, like hiring a business coach, hiring someone for branding, getting like a photo shoot done, or like doing different courses, even like your home office, like working from your home is actually helping you generate more income. So, like, the square footage of your home office compared to the total square footage of your house, let's say that's about 10%. So you could write off like your mortgage interest, your utilities, insurance. If you have someone come in on a monthly basis to clean your home as well, that's you can totally claim that as well. So just really understanding what type of expenses you pay for that really help you earn more income or show up as a better business owner.
That's a really good way to think about it. That narrows it down quite a lot, and it's not just, "Oh, I'm gonna go out and, like spend whatever just so I can write that off in my business. Um, Also, another thing want to know more about myself too is like, can you tell us also a little bit more about incorporating, what that might entail, what that might mean from like a business perspective or a tax perspective?
Yeah, so with incorporating, it always depends on your personal situation. There's no yes or no answer. But if I did have to tell someone like when they're just starting up a business, I would highly recommend starting up as self-employed and just building a good foundation, like having better bookkeeping systems, understanding what your tax requirements, responsibilities are, learning how to use your CRA account, talking to an accountant, and fully understanding what you need from a foundational aspect before you incorporate, because with an incorporation, it's a separate legal entity. So you have to treat it like a separate person. So it has its own tax return. There's more continuation where you have to track like the balance sheet items, like what your bank balance is year over year. You also get to choose your corporate year end date. And then based on that, you would have 6 months to file a tax return and 3 months to pay your taxes. So it really depends on the person's personal situation and having a good understanding of what's expected from an accounting and tax perspective. Because once you start incorporating and operating incorporation, it does get messy if people don't open separate bank accounts, they're running their personal expenses through it. It just becomes a huge mess. And if you get audited by CRA, it just becomes a nightmare.
Oh Lord, yeah, definitely you want to get those business foundations in before you head down that track. So thank you for clarifying that. Um, Speaking of keeping yourself organized, do you have any organization tips or software for receipts or keeping track of expenses that you could recommend to us?
Yeah, there's a lot of free options. The easiest is like Google Drive or Dropbox and just taking pictures of all your receipts as you pay for things. Another thing a lot of people do is that they just set up like a new email address and they just forward all their receipts. So I know like Amazon receipts add up too. So just forwarding all those. And then you can have it categorized by like years. That makes it easier to find as well. Because CRA requires you to keep your records for 6 years for each tax year. So like we just finished 2023. So you would have to keep your records till 2029. And if you have physical documents, you misplace them, ink tends to fade over time. So it's really important to have digital copies.
Oh my God, the Gmail idea, that's a really good idea. I would have never thought of that. I'm
Yeah.
actually, I'm gonna write that down for myself.
And then like if you have like QuickBooks or bookkeeping software, you can always upload receipts in there as well.
Perfect. Do you ever find yourself in situations where clients will come to you, but then their bookkeeping is all over the place, and you're kind of like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah, totally. I just went through that actually this tax season.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm trying to piece together the information or I'm being sent like receipts and clients don't even know how much income they've earned.
Mhm.
It's nice to help like startups, but it just becomes like draining on my end trying to piece together and like I provide more than tax services. Like I really want to educate my clients, provide them with checklists and things that they can use like going forward. But I just
Yeah.
find that if the client's not interested in learning that, then I'm not like a good fit for them. And it just becomes draining on my end trying to educate someone that doesn't really care. They just want a tax return done and that's it. So that's when I recommend people to connect with other accountants that can provide them the service that they want.
Yeah, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what are some of the things that you look at when you're working with the client? Because you look at their entire, not just their taxes, you look at their business strategy, you look at how, you look at ways to financially empower them in their within their business. So, like, what are some of the high level things that you kind of like to look at and educate your clients on?
It varies like person to person depending on like what stage of business they are in. But I
Mhm.
really look at if they have like a good system in place, like for bookkeeping, like automation too, like are they just doing e-transfers? How are they keeping track of those kind of things? Are they doing manual contracts? I find that people that have like automations and like Stripe, Square, those things kind of set up, they're more organized and they're doing less manual work, meaning that there's like less room for errors too. Because let's say like you're doing manual contracts and doing e-transfers and you're not tracking things on a monthly basis, like how do you know if the client sent you the correct amount? And it's like if you're looking at your bank statements a year later, you can't go back and ask the client, "Oh, actually, you were supposed to owe me this much. You only paid me this much." Like, it doesn't look good on your end. And
Mhm.
I'm finding with clients too, like subscriptions, like people sign up for courses, for trial versions, and then they just forget to cancel. Well, if you're not looking at your statements, you've spent like 12 months worth of that expense, and it's just like a waste of money. So really understanding like things you're paying for, looking at your Visa statements because there's often like we're just paying monthly subscriptions, and if you're not paying attention to it, it just adds up over time.
What about like having your business expenses separate from your personal? I've kind of heard like a mixed bag on how to navigate that, but like what's your take on that? Like are you someone that's like everything needs to be separated or like some things can be commingled or how do you kind of feel about that?
I always recommend separating it from the beginning, because like when someone starts up a business, they don't think they're going to be that big, but over time, like the transactions increase. And then if you're just using like a personal credit card to pay for your business and personal expenses, it just becomes hard to separate the two when it comes tax time. And then also from a cash flow perspective too, if you're trying to look at your transactions on a monthly or quarterly basis, you need to understand like how much money is coming in your business and your exact expenses so you can see how much profit you're making and then how much cash you have left over every month. I think that's the easiest way. And then there is overlap with like your personal home office, your personal cell phone, gas, mileage, all those kind of things. I recommend like doing those at the end, or I have templates too that I provide my clients where they can just put the percentages in, and then I just record that at the end for them.
Oh, those templates are a game changer. That's awesome.
So I actually have a 4-week reset program that helps either new entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that have been in business like 3 to 5 years and they've just like went straight into the business, didn't really build a good foundation from the beginning. So from the 4 weeks, like it goes over how to deal with like your limiting beliefs and mindset to helping you build a plan on a monthly basis so that you only work on your finances 1 to 2 hours a month. It teaches you how to do your own tax planning, how to set up a different savings account, how to actually track your results, manage cash flow and everything so that you have a good foundation going forward and you can really grow and scale your business. What I find is a lot of business owners, they want to grow and scale their business, but they have cracks in their foundation. And it's like you can't build a good house if you don't have the foundation set up. And that's the same thing in businesses too. And if anyone wants a tax write-off guide, I have a guide that includes 100 write-offs. So if your
100.
audience would like that, yeah, I'll give you the link to
Wow.
that you can share with your audience.
Definitely. I'll make sure to include it in the description of the podcast below for you guys to check out. That's awesome. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Well, definitely make sure you check out Cindy's 4-week reset program. That sounds like it's full of a lot of good wisdom and nuggets and templates to help you. Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for joining me today and answering my questions. That some of them were definitely personal for me and I wanted to know more about. So I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me here today.